Alrighty, Tackles and Tinnies listeners, welcome back. So, last week, bit of a kerfuffle on my end. It was a complete shabonkle. So, essentially, I filmed with I filmed with Chris and Andrew last week. Had an epic episode, went for about an hour and 20 minutes, and completely duffed it. So, essentially, I had a recording studio ready to go, and my camera wasn't working, and essentially, I recorded over the top of that episode. So, the fantasy files that I was promising from the actual episode with Gary and I was not there, and there were some pretty good tips that probably could have saved a couple of you and would have saved me. But anyway, such is life. But anyway, boys, how are we? Jake, Adam, say hello.
G'day, mate. I'm well, thanks.
Yeah,
Good to
I'm
be
doing
back,
well.
mate.
Sweet,
Yeah,
amazing,
excited to
boys.
be pod.
So, Adam, our resident guru super coacher, give us a rundown what's happened with your team this week and last week.
Yeah, had a good solid green, so I'm up to 7th overall, which is pretty good. Super happy with that. Long way to go, but it's exciting. Had a pretty decent week. Captain Teddy, that wasn't the best, but the main thing is my trades were good again. And really, like, scores will fluctuate, but I want my trades to be good, and they were, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, unreal. And who were your trades, if you remember?
Yeah, so I did Tamale to Hiroti. Didn't really want to let go of Tamale, but I really wanted Hiroti. I was pretty confident he'd get 2 weeks. Thought he might score well versus the Knights, and just the cash. Something I've really been trying to do is focus every week on like getting my team closer and closer to a final team. And you know, Tamale isn't going to be in that. And so I thought, if I hold him, unless he gets a good score this week, it's going to be a bad move. And he did get a good score in the end. He would have been nice to play, but I'm really trying to take that long-term approach. So that was one of my trades. The other one was Shibasaki to Karaz. We spoke a little bit about Karaz a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people jumped on. I was really surprised by how many people bought him, considering he wasn't changing in price. I thought he'd be more of a pod, but he was good, offloading, tackle busts, bit of attack, which was nice. Again, similar sort of thing. Like Shibasaki, he scored pretty well. He's been good. I just don't think he's a final team guy. And so, just going to keep cycling through until we get to, 25 end of year players, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty spot on,
And
mate. And obviously, yeah, sorry, mate.
and the last thing I did was I didn't boost. I was very tempted to boost Nafahu White to Eli Katoa. Eli Katoa had a good matchup. White was coming off a bad game, and I decided to just wait, keep Naf White long term, and that was a real lucky move too, because that would have been a bit backwards in the end. So yeah.
Definitely saving some cash there, obviously, and yeah, what did you get, 30-something points, so dodged a bullet. Jakey, brother, let us know what happened with your team last week / this week.
Yeah, I had a good week. I scored 1331. So yeah, won all my
Huge.
3 matchups. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Went the sneaky captain on Cleary.
Big
I was
dog.
chopping and changing between Haas, May, and Cleary. But yeah, landed on Cleary last minute, and it paid dividends for me, which is great. No harm in going Haas or May, really, in the end. I think they got 85 and 102 looking at them real quick. So, yeah, it's good week. 3 out of 3 for me. Trying to recall on my trades last week. I know I went Arthur's to, I think it might have been to Jenkins, may have been last week. I went Duffy to Cleary, and I ended up doing JC to Pappenhausen. So some strong trades, really, all around. I guess like Arthur's to Jenkins was just that cash opportunity, but definitely JC with that last minute. It was actually originally Ponga to Pappy, and then that last minute injury and omission of JC worked a few things around, was able to bring Ponga back in, keep him, and get rid of JC instead. And yeah, it was a good week. Good week. I'm stoked.
Oh, mate, you absolutely killed it. No, I'm assuming you probably have about 5 million still in the bank. Is that right? Or
Nah, look, it's definitely started to dwindle. I'm down into 618, so I'm getting a little bit nervous that I don't have enough money in the bank anymore. So we'll see what happens.
you're a joker. But the
Yeah.
master stroke of fading Cleary, what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, dropped him in a
Yeah,
lot of
that
cash.
Cleary and Hughes.
Yeah.
Yep, Cleary and Hughes. I believe I wanted to fade, and yeah, it's really worked out really well.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I've had a bit of a tumultuous 2 weeks. I asked Adam, I asked Jake, I asked Chris, I asked Andrew, boys, should I boost, should I not boost? And on the Fantasy Files episode 1, I'm like, boys, whatever you do not let me boost. And guess what? I have no boost left. So I'm officially boosted out. I need to, I need to pray for some miracles here because I did Kalen Ponga 2 weeks ago to Jerome Hughes. Absolute L in the regards of Jerome Hughes getting injured. So he got like 16 points. Obviously, Ponga has been dropping catch for the past 2 weeks. That's been okay in that regard. But yeah, the Jerome Hughes trade was an absolute L. Obviously got Egan in. Yeah, he's been making me some money. I've been really struggling picking players to play. And more so this week was an absolute killer for me. I only got 1,152. Not very good. So I played Jenkins. I played Shibasaki over Maju. Absolute L. So that was about a 100-point turnaround. Yeah, I captained Pappy. Obviously, that could have been worse than it was. It was 78 points. So yeah, could have been a lot worse. So VC was JC, not JC. My VC was Gutho, but I also had Teddy in mind. So again, best out of the three in that situation. But yeah, just my sit and starts have just been absolutely missing left, right, and center. Yeah, it's just really struggling just to see where my team's going. I was really set in stone what I was going to, but now with all these injuries coming through and players coming back faster than I would have liked to, like we'll talk about that very shortly, but I'm a bit stuck and it's kind of good. I got you two boys here to clear my head, and I'm assuming some of the listeners will be in a very similar boat. So pretty much just want to go straight into players of interest who are potentially returning this week. I'm just going through the team list right now, and looks like Nick Meaney's back, Turbo's back, Dylan Lucas is back, all these notable Supercoach names. Boys, go ahead. Where do you want to start?
I'm happy to start. I did see exactly all those three coming back as well. Definitely some big names. I have no interest in Tommy Turbo, that's for sure. I feel Teddy has definitely been a watch in that fullback position for me, but as soon as I've started watching him, I don't think he's really pulled out the big scores for me. And then that other competitor could be Dylan Edwards. So around that fullback position, even just with his injury cloud, I'm not interested in Turbo whatsoever. I would love Dylan Lucas. I don't think I'll be getting him though. I have already made my 2 trades for the week, which once again might change. But yeah, I would like him, but over in New Zealand, I think have been getting the wins under their belt. They're at home again. They're really strong at home. Flying over there after his hamstring injury, I just don't know how he's gonna come back. And you've still got Thomas Cant on the bench there, ready as well. And as for Nick Meaney, same thing. Was it a jaw or cheekbone?
Yeah,
I think
Jaw, I think
for
it was.
him with that collision with Nas. So yeah, I think he's got a break even of 50 because I was having a look at him 10 minutes ago. Storm aren't even the powerhouse that we seem to know and love from him as well. They got pretty well beaten and showed up by the Dolphins over the weekend. So for me, I'm not even looking at Meaney at the moment either.
Interesting. Adam,
Yeah,
what about you, mate?
yeah, I'd probably agree with Jake on all three. Turbo, I mean, he's got the bye the round after, so there's no reason to buy right now. And then he comes back versus the Sharks, and then you're almost at Origin time, so don't see much point there. There's plenty of other fullbacks. Meaney, there's a chance he might not goal kick. Like Pappy's actually been nailing them,
Yeah,
and
100%.
in the past, they've kind of thought, oh, well, we'll take the burden off Pappy. But he's been healthy. He's been good. He's nailing the conversions. I don't see any reason he'd lose it, especially Meaney's first came back. And it seems like Meaney's coming back a bit early too. I'm sure he's fine. They wouldn't risk him if he wasn't healthy. So, the goal kicking is his appeal. If he's not goal kicking, you don't even look at him. And also, Sanoing's so strong this year. There's so many guys I want to buy. Meaney, unless they're top tier or a gun GP, not really much point. Lucas is really interesting. I am pretty keen on him. It's a big risk, though. I think anyone that's willing to take a risk, if he stays healthy, you're going to be rewarded. It's just you could be trading him back out next week. And that's the hard thing. I mean, we've seen so many guys already this year have hamstring issues, come back 1 to 3 weeks later, injure their hamstring again. Tui Pilotu had that preseason hamstring injury, and then 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, it is hamstring again. The early rounds, To'o missed round 1 with a hamstring issue, came back, played a few rounds, did his hammy again. He's out now. It's so hard, to trust these guys with the hamstring injuries. So normally I wouldn't have any interest. And as Jake said, flying to New Zealand is not ideal. But the draw is awesome. So they've got the Warriors in New Zealand, which is a tough game. But then it's Souths at Magic Round, it's Titans at home, and it's Eels at home. And then they play round 12, and that's Penrith without any Origin players. So the Knights draw is awesome, and his break even's like 20. So I'm definitely considering it. It's just a question of, do you risk basically throwing a trade, down the drain? And that's a tough call because that could be what it is in the end.
Yeah, very much so. There's also another player of interest, huge break even, Fatrell or Fitrell, whatever version you want to say him as currently, 800 and something, 860k, or just underneath that. What are we thinking about Latrell Mitchell? Is he a buy?
For me, once again, you guys know me, I stay away from my high break evens. I like to save my every cent, every dollar that I can. So, as I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to wait out for Latrell to drop in that price and find him at a good opportunity. So, yeah, he's definitely, for me personally, he's on a buy this week. If people do get on him, I can understand it. But you're up against the Storm, who I'm sure Bellamy will be getting into him this week after their loss against the Finns over the weekend. So, yeah, we all know that the Storm bounce back 99% of the time very well after a loss. So I'd hate to be the South this week. Yeah, and you've got Jai Gray in that 14 position as well. I know Latrell's been fine in his 2 games that he's been back, but if anything were to happen, if someone were to go down, Latrell, I'd say, would go straight back into that 6 or centre position if required, and Gray's there ready to jump into that 1 spot.
Yeah, what do we expect with Jai Gray's role now that he's coming off the bench? Adam, what do you reckon?
I mean, I would assume injury cover. Maybe if they're down and the game's close, Wayne chucks him on to try and, play a bit of that roaming, like almost extra attacking player type role. We've seen, the Storm with Pappenhausen used to do that, just throw him on essentially as like a running lock, but really he was just there to run around and, try and find gaps. So it's possible they do something like that, but I think it's mostly just injury cover.
Yeah, because I currently got him in draft, and I don't know if I just want to drop him, because he's just going to be a bit of enough on my bench, because I've already got Lomax there. I kind of want to get rid of him, but if Latrell's almost a lock for Origin, I'm not saying he is, but if he gets an Origin sniff, like obviously he's going to go straight back in. Yeah, I don't know, a bit just rattled there, and I think the Rabbitohs team this week looks a lot stronger than they did last week, and I don't expect them to be blown out like they did against the Bulldogs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like the changes a lot.
Yeah, definitely a lot stronger. And obviously Cody Walker being shifted back to 6 can be a bit more of that attacking flair, and hopefully Sutherland can just sniff around the ruck and just pass the ball. So, Jerome Hughes, boys, what do we think? Is he a hold?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
personally haven't looked at Jerome Hughes at all.
Yeah, no, you got to hold. Absolutely. He's got. They've got Souths in Melbourne this week, and then it's the Raiders at Magic Round, and then it's the Tigers in Melbourne. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I don't really see much reason to trade him. There's who are you even going to buy at halfback? He's a good player. He'll lose a bit of money, but he'll make it back. He doesn't play Origin. He's a great guy, though.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Definitely more so the break even. So Jakey, if he has 100 break even, what's your play? Well, he's got 133 break even, apologies.
Yeah, I just had a quick look. Yeah, I agree with Adam and yourself there. If I did have him, I would be holding him. But if you're looking to bring him in this week, I'd avoid, to be honest. The Souths, I know I was just talking up the Storm that they're going to bounce back, but the Souths are also a pretty quality team so far that we've seen from them this season. With a 133 BE, I'd be avoiding this week and just wait for that awesome buying opportunity.
Yeah. Now, one of the biggest ones I'm looking at this week is Clint Gutherson. He's obviously had a couple of very quiet weeks. He's got a break even currently of 139. I'm just going to quickly go through his games. He's got 113, 146, a 47, 130, a 54, and a 57. So again, those two mid 50s are in his rolling average. What do we think about Gutherson, boys? Currently just under 800,000.
If you got him at his starting price, so it looks like overall he's made about 123 grand so far. If you do want to get rid of him when he's at that K mark, essentially, and you're looking for someone else to bring in, he's definitely not a bad option to sell. I'm really torn about who's going to be the number one for the Blues this year. To be honest, I'd be guessing it's Edwards or Teddy because they've been there. We know what they can do. At the moment, I'd say Teddy's just in front, just with the consistent and the games under his belt. But if Edwards bounces back from his injury and can bring his form back, then yeah, Edwards could easily be that guy. Pappy's, I guess, in the talk as well. And you've obviously got other talks of Latrell or Tommy, but personally, I wouldn't even be considering them in the number one for the Blues. So you could take a risk with Edwards. Yeah, it's a little bit of a down price essentially. You're saving about 20 grand. But if the Panthers find their mojo and Edwards turns it on, he could be an option. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm actually very happy that Gutho started to drop. He was a very danger man. Every time I was up against him each week, I thought I'd missed the boat on him. And yeah, now that he's kind of dropped that SuperCoach point form, it's worked out really well for me. So yeah, that's a 50-50 one, to be honest.
What do you reckon, Adam?
It's a bit of a boring answer, but I think it's just team dependent. You know, if you have nothing else to do, if you've got a pretty settled squad, you know, you've only got maybe one other trade to make, there's definitely some merit in jumping off. He's probably a little bit overs. He's just had two really good matchups in a row and didn't really capitalize. He's probably not a captaincy option at the moment. So, and he doesn't play round 12. You know, the Dragons have to buy in that first major buy. So, if you have not much else to do, I think you could, you know, trade down probably a Drinkwater type, free up 100K, get in a guy that looks like he might be ready to go bang this week. But I would say most teams are going to have a more pressing trade to make. And I was really keen on the Gutho sell last week. Like looking ahead to this week, I was pretty keen to do it because I'm really high on Drinkwater. I think he's going to be awesome this week. But the more I look at it, like I probably have more important stuff to do. And I mean, day game against the Roosters, not a bad matchup for Gutho. You know, he could easily punch out 75, 80. Yeah, he'll lose a bit of cash, but you know, you probably got better stuff to do elsewhere. So it's really team dependent. I wouldn't knock anyone that wanted to trade him. He's probably not worth as much as he is now, but I mean, what are you thinking, Ryan?
Well, currently I'm running 3-gun fullback, so I have that luxury of putting Gutherson in flex, so I can literally trade whoever I want, and obviously at 800,000 or just under, and with 137 in the bank, I can get any player in the game I want. So I'm a bit stuck in what to do. Do I trade one of my sort of capped out second rowers and get like maybe a Toby Couchman or something, or do I look at getting Carraz? I'm pretty much locked in to Herbie, and again, I'll go through my trades later on. But I'm just a bit stuck, and I think, yeah, that break even is scaring me, and again, that rolling average as well. I think it might be time to get off. But again, I do like the Drinky shout. I do like the Carraz shout. Maybe a Smoky on Dylan Edwards. Jake, just to rebut your point before, when Laurie Daly pre-season had their New South Wales meetup, I don't know if you know about this, but they have like a 30, 40, 50 man meetup. I can't remember the exact number, but he wasn't invited to that meetup. I think it was like 40 players or something. So yeah, that's interesting to
Okay.
note. So he's
Yeah.
like 5th or 6th in line going off that comment.
Yeah, wow. Look, that's surprising.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for
didn't know
sure.
that. Good to
Yeah, so
know.
obviously you got Dylan Edwards, Turbo, Mitchell. Yeah, like there's 3 top of my head. So yeah, I don't think Teddy's going to be then. The Teddy hold, I reckon, just, yeah, for sure. And obviously the buy rounds are useful. But Gutherson, Adam, what do you reckon, mate? Sell? I'm still a bit rattled.
I don't know. I mean, for you, you've got no boosts. So surely you got two better trades to make. Because the other thing is, like, 3-gun fullbacks is an advantage. And Unfortunately for us, like all the Iongi owners will be, going up to fullbacks this week, most likely. So we didn't really get a huge point benefit out of being the three gun fullbacks. But I think if you trade Gutho out to bring in, say, a centre wing, you're probably just going to end up then wanting to trade a centre wing back to another fullback. I think for me, what's made me more keen to hold Gutho is we might actually have some decent options next week at fullback. Drinkwater's probably now or never, just because that Titans matchup this week is so good. If you miss that, you've probably lost the value. But, Latrell's back at fullback. He's 750k, 140 something break even against the Storm in Melbourne. Like, let's say he scores 60 odd. He's going to be like 680k back at fullback, Knights in Magic round. Like, he could be an awesome buy next week. Ponga, I mean, he's going to be under 600k, and he's got
He's
that
already
good
under
draw that I
600.
mentioned earlier. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. He's going to be, sorry, almost at 500. Yes. Gutho, as much as you might lose, he might lose a bit of money himself. Like Latrell's losing money, Ponga's losing money. It might be worth just waiting a week, and you got options. You'd miss Drinkwater, and that would suck potentially. But I'm kind of leaning hold now. We'll see.
I like all that. I think forget everything else we were just saying and listen to that last 60 seconds from Adam, guys. That's yeah.
Until
Yeah,
Gutho scores 55 again this week.
and then I'll start raging again.
I do like the three-gun fullback. Like, personally, just to quickly throw that in there, it's the right move. I'm not even seeing flex as a flex position. It's just another fullback.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially with all these guns coming back into our prime positions. Like, yeah, as we said, Latrell, Turbo's back, Dylan Edwards is back. Yeah, definitely. And Drinky's obviously had his buy around now and he's coming in a bit of form. So definitely, yeah, I agree. The three-gun fullback is essential. So another big one to note. Okay, so Matty Nicholson. So we're looking at the Raiders rotation, especially the forward rotation. I was worried about Matty Nicholson, but he's got 80 minutes on the weekend, especially with Zach Hoskins back. I think he's a hold, but person to look at maybe selling Corey Horsburgh. Origin around the corner. I think he's pretty much a lock. Is that fair to say, boys?
Oh, I mean, he's right up there. Hard to say lock, but he'd be very much in the frame for a bench spot.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's currently dropping minutes. He's, let's say, best case scenario is going to get 50 minutes. He's currently valued at 562k. He's got a break even of 55. So, again, very achievable for him. Dual position. Is Corey Horsburgh a sell? Going off the uncertainty of his role. Adam, what do you reckon?
Look, he's whatever you want him to be. He can be a sell, he can be a hold. He's not urgent by any means. I mean, he's priced at like a 56 average and he's averaging 65. Like, yeah, the minutes have gone down a bit, but he still had 53 on the weekend, 53 points. So if you've got no other moves to make and you can say, oh, I can turn Horsburgh into some awesome gun, I wouldn't say not, but I also wouldn't trade him for the sake of it. If it's trading him just to trade him, you can wait till round 12 because similar to fullback, there's a few guys that are getting cheaper. Eli Katoa has a huge break even this week. Ola Kawatu, that's right. He's got a huge break even this week. And these are guys that you could look at in a couple of weeks. So if you want to trade Horse, go for it. But he's definitely not like a sell. Do what you want with him, really.
Yep. Jakey, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I agree. It depends on where you've got him in your team. Obviously, he's that dual, so it depends if you've got him in that front row or second row, and how much you can kind of move him around. Because when I look, like, I've got Horsburgh and he is kind of hitting that cap out price area, and yeah, he definitely is a hot chance for Origin, you'd say. But I don't know how I would sell him at the moment because my front row is stacked and that's where I've currently got him parked. So yeah, I think I've pretty much got the top four front rowers with Haas, May, Tino and Horsburgh. So yeah, if I trade at Horsburgh, it would literally be to maybe enough just to park some money or something like that. But I'd probably want to have players available until after Origin for me. So yeah, for me, he's definitely a hold at the moment. And yeah, you can wait for that good opportunity. But even that early shout of Toby Couchman, I reckon he could be a great buy. So a bit of a sideways trade in a way, but for me, probably less likely to make the Blues team. I feel like they've probably got a bit more depth with like that front row and their pack and everything. So yeah, I really like the Toby Couchman idea. So if you wanted to get rid of Horsburgh, that could be an option.
So I think the Corey, well, not the Corey, but the Toby Couchman, it's pretty much now or never, or not for a while anyway. He's got to break even at 20 points. He's got that huge work ethic. He's playing really big minutes. Everything's in base, and again, one attacking stat is going to be blowing up in price again. Yeah, I'm really looking at Couchman. Can't really get one of my cheapies. Bit annoyed about Hubner obviously going out. Thomas Kahn, I'm just a little bit off, and now he's got a reserve role, but again, he's got to break even at 20. Thomas can't, so again, that's all right. I got to Kartoga. He's potentially someone I could look at trading, but again, now with Mitchell Moses back, he's still got a solid 80-minute role. Max isn't too far around the corner. He's only going to get better probably with that. Dylan Egan, same thing. He seems to be starting every single week. Break even negative 25. Don't really want to sell Ola Kawacha, a bit sideways. And obviously, Matty Nicholson's got that 80-minute role on lock in a gun team. So, bit stuck. Kind of want Couchman, but again, sideways trade. Am I just trading for the sake of trading? Or
Yeah, I would say Couchman doesn't play round 12. So even though Horsburgh plays Origin, you're not really getting an extra game from Couchman, you know? If you think he's like, yeah, this guy's a gun, he's going to average 75, like 70, which he might. I mean, he's been doing it. If you think he's like a top tier keeper, then, like you said, low break even, jump on now. I wouldn't do it just because Horsburgh's peaked, though. I would definitely be like finding a way to get Kant up to him or one of the other guys you mentioned and keep Horsburgh for now because the good thing with Horsburgh is you can hold him to round 12 and then see who's available, you know? Like a mistake that's easy to make is saying, oh, I'm going to jump off Horsburgh now. I'm going to buy this guy because he plays the first big buy. And that's 5 weeks away, you know? They could get suspended, they could get injured, anything could happen. Whereas if you wait to round 12, you know, and you say, okay, I know Horsburgh's been picked for Origin firstly, so I can trade him. And I know that these guys have been named in round 12, so I can buy them, you know? That's a much safer way to do it. So I would be like, it sounds like there's a few guys. Like, how much is it from Kant up to
I
Couchman? Like
I'm about
200K?
100.
Yeah, Kant's currently at 14. Yeah, 200K.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find that somewhere, I'd much rather that
Yeah, imagine if I had a
personally.
boost, eh? Imagine I had a boost. Yeah, interesting. Is okay. What about 5'8" boys? Bit desolate. AJ Brimson. I was at the Titans game on the weekend. Brim on the first bloody 25 minutes. Absolutely incredible. I'm like, he's going to be going 80 points. He's got a actual halfback next to him, and Tommy Weaver. Tommy Weaver shat the bed after about 30 minutes, got gassed out, and then Brimo decided not to score any more points. Then I had Adam Dewey there. Dewey named it halfback /5'8". I'm like, yep, perfect. Let's play him over Marju. Obviously, and found out what happened there. What are we thinking at 5'8", boys? Now with Jaden Campbell injured, what are we thinking?
I got rid of JC last week. So my current fights are Munster and Metcalf, and I also have Dill Brown in my halfback. So obviously with Metcalf and Brown as those duels, I can easily just swap them around, which is pretty good for me. So I'm actually feeling really happy and settled, surprisingly. One little slip up after round one of selling Metcalf out. I brought him back in and I'm holding firm with him. And he's doing a good enough job for me at the moment of sometimes playing him, sometimes not. So yeah, if you have JC, obviously that's a lot of money sitting on the bench with his injury, that 4 to 6 weeks, I think it is. Yeah, you want to be getting rid of him. But in terms of who, yeah, not too sure. Let me quickly look at 5'8".
And what are you thinking about 5'8" at the moment?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I think if you just look at him in a vacuum, he's a sell. Like he's going to miss most of the rounds pre-Origin. He probably misses all of them. Is most likely. So you're probably waiting to round 13 because they've got the buy in round 12. And then he comes back and he plays the Storm and the Broncos in 14 and 15. Sorry, 13 and 14. I'm not sure I want Decay sitting there for 5, 6 weeks to come back against two good teams. I think he's very clearly a sell. the issue I'm running into is there's no one I want to buy. And so I think I'm just going to play it week by week. Like, I don't think I'm going to buy anyone this week. If I knew Burton was goal kicking again, he would be very interesting. But A, we don't know that. B, apparently it's meant to be really, really wet for the Broncos Dogs game this week. So if it's really bad conditions, we don't know if his goal kicking, his break even's not urgent. I think that's an easy wait and see. And then you've got other guys you could consider. You know, Dylan Brown's been solid, but he's got a bye this week, so you're not going to buy him when he's missing the week anyway. Maybe a cheapie will pop up. Like, I think at the moment, if I've got enough decent players to play, I'm just going to park him there and I'll wait for an opportunity.
What do we think about
Quickly
Galvin?
having a look.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry,
Ryan.
Jakey.
Yeah, quickly having a look at some fights. To be honest, for some pod moves, I feel just quickly throwing them out there. Dearden, Strange, and Blaze Talagi. Obviously not including Matt Burton in that. To be honest, I actually like Burton. Bulldogs obviously playing in some great form, and Burton looked good after his MCL. I think I can't recall, maybe that slight hip drop possibly happened on him, and there was a little bit of concern there for a second. Yeah, Burton bounced back pretty well. So looking at them, I reckon there's definitely a couple of options actually. Raiders have been doing really well. Ethan Strange got 70 over the weekend. They're at home against the Dolphins. Dolphins are looking like they're playing okay now again, or pretty well actually. But yeah, Ethan Strange is like a cheaper option as well. And if the Panthers bounce back, you could take a risk with Blaze.
Yep. Don't hate that. Yeah, I'm just waiting for Cody Walker to finally find some form. Maybe he'll be unlocked now with Latrell Mitchell back at fullback. Obviously, not going to touch him with a 13 in his rolling average at 350k, but he's always someone each year who just mid-year around that origin period seems to find some really good form, hits that 60 plus average, and obviously that's going to be value currently at 350,000. Jerome Luai obviously had a much better game comparatively what he's been doing, scored a 41. Yeah, just it's so desolate there, isn't it, boys? I don't mind the Ethan Strange shout. I'm going to avoid Dearden just due to Origin, just to, don't want to waste that trade. He'll be there probably for Harry Grant off that utility role with Ben Hunt going into hooker. But yeah, I don't know. Galvin's back. What do you think about Galvin, boys?
My worry with Galvin is he's averaging 61, which is good, but they've had a really easy draw. You know, they've played the Knights twice. Well, he didn't play Para twice, but he played Para once. The Warriors at home, so it was in Australia, not New Zealand. They've played a lot of favorable matchups, and he's averaging 61. You know, he seems pretty consistent. Like, he's probably going to hit that 50 to 70 every week. I just don't know if I want to be playing 2 5/8 a week, and I'm not sure if it's really going to be worth the move, I guess.
And even that job security as well. I believe Latu is still injured with his hand, I think, for another couple of weeks. Yeah, he could definitely. Gavin could be in and out, to be honest, for the rest of the season. Come
Yeah,
and
too
go.
risky.
I'd be avoiding Gavin personally.
Yeah. I'm just looked at Ethan
I don't mind.
Strange. Negative 27 break even or something similar to that. That's pretty good value.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
issue with
don't
him
mind
is just
Strange at all.
Sorry,
yeah,
Adam,
the
what do you
issue
say?
with him is just he can score a 15, and he has. You know, I think if we knew pre-game last week that JC was out like long term, I wouldn't have minded him because you would have got that Titans matchup. You would have got the first price rise. I think he's had several scores under 30 this year. And I guess it depends what you think of the Dolphins too, and the Raiders. I mean, maybe he's just figuring it out. He's a young player, and he's cheap enough that, I mean, you could look at it as, I'll buy him, I'll flip him in 2 weeks, worst case scenario. But then again, you're factoring in another 5/8 trade. Like, I don't know if I want to use one trade there, let alone two. So it's really team dependent again. Like, for us, Ryan, we've got Munster, so we don't really need to make an
I do
urgent
not have
move.
Munster.
I think
I
anyone that
tried.
doesn't. Oh, you don't.
No, it's about
Oh, right.
10k
I
off
thought you
two
had
weeks in a
Munster.
row.
Yeah. That's right. 2 weeks in a row, yeah. So I think anyone with Munster doesn't have to trade him. I mean, if you don't have Munster, it's probably just an easy swap. I know he's got Origin coming up, but like, he's 15 points clear of anyone else at the position. They've got a good draw. Like, I'd probably just do that.
So thoughts on Shibasaki then? So Shibasaki out, okay. I might literally be 10k off again. That's a joke. Yeah, I'm 10k off again.
2 Munster.
Yeah. Can't catch a break.
Crazy.
Yeah, 10k or about 15k. But yeah, so Munster's out of the question. Dewey's giving me the shits in his back.
Have you got Billy Smith?
Yeah, I traded him in last week instead of Harodi. Should have done that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that would have been good. Like, downgrade to Billy Smith, upgrade to Munster. Could have got rid of Dewey and JC. Something like that, would have been good. But
Yeah, not ideal. Okay, what about some guns, boys? We got Garrick with Turbo back. That makes me a lot happier. I was definitely looking at selling Garrick for Karaz. Obviously a bit sideways in terms of pricing. What do we think about Garrick, boys? A lot of people jumped off.
I haven't owned him at all this season. He wasn't my team in the lead up before round one, but in the end, I just parked them all with cheapies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, 2 weeks ago with that over 130 BE, I was saying maybe a sell. And then looking at his score from round seven with that 39, yeah, for me, he's obviously lost a bit of money. What's his break even at 103 this week against the Panthers in, I presume, Penrith land? So, yeah, for me, I'd personally, I don't know. He can always score big, but it depends on who you're going for. If you get rid of, do you own Garrick, Ryan?
Yeah, I've had Garrick since the start.
Yes, because if you were to get rid of Garrick, is there any way that could be your way into Munster, possibly?
Oh, definitely. I could just go shift down Dewey and then straight into Munster. I think AJ
Yep.
has more upside than Dewey, so I'll keep Brimson. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
Garrick's
agree with
more of a
that.
hold than,
Yeah, he
Munster.
could definitely be a hold as well. So he definitely has a lot of points in him.
What do you think, Adam?
yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just looking at Garrick as short-term pain, long-term gain. If he jumped off 2 weeks ago, like, awesome, that would have been great. I think that probably in hindsight was the right move. I think now, Penrith, they were really awesome on the weekend. I'm not convinced they're just back to Penrith. It was one awesome game, but we'll see this week. I mean, they've lost Kenny this week. Isaac Tungo's back to starting. So it's essentially the team they had 2 weeks ago when they looked atrocious. That being said, the main reason for holding Garrick is just that you'll need him over the buys. Their matchups during the buys are quite good. So they've got Parramatta in the first major buy at CommBank. Second major buy, they've got the Titans on the Gold Coast without any Titans Origin players. And Para will be without any Origin players too, probably Moses. And then round 18, they're at home against Souths without any of their Origin players. I mean, Latrell is probably the main one there, maybe Arrow. So the three major buys, he plays them all. He's got a great matchup in all three. If you jump off, you're probably having to jump back on. And, you might be able to do that at 100 and something K cheaper, and that might be good. I need to save trades somewhere, so that's just one spot I'm doing that, essentially. And I've also got a pretty deep center wing, so I don't need, it doesn't matter if he doesn't do too much. I'm pretty happy to, just hang on to him.
Yep. Boys, the sexiest man in rugby league, 2 years in a row, Mr. Herbie Farnworth. What are we thinking? I'm buying him in this week. What do you think, Jakey?
Oh, I like
Was looking at Herbie. I personally am not bringing him in this week. My centre wing trade has been that strange Jake Targo that was sitting on the bench for me, the Parramatta winger that was injured. I've traded him out for Billy Smith for my centre wings this week, just for that pure awesome
No-brainer.
cash grab.
Yep.
Yeah, so I know we haven't really spoken about trades, but I forget where I've used my second one now, quickly looking at it. So I'll move on. But yeah, Herbie's definitely a good buy. Looking at other trade options in that center wing, he would definitely have to be up there because is he around for round 12? Or do the Dolphins have a bye? Because if he gives you that early coverage, that's great. Because I feel like now is probably the time to get on Herbie.
Yeah, he's playing, mate. Round 12.
Yeah, great time to bring him in. I like
Adam,
it.
thoughts?
Oh, yeah, Herbie's awesome. I mean, I thought about buying instead of Kraz last week. He went pretty big, break even's like 40 odd. He's only going to get more expensive. Draw is reasonable. Dolphins have really turned a corner. So I like him a lot. it's just a matter of priorities for the week. But yeah, he's a very good buy.
Yeah, agreed. So, boys, I want to hear your trades for this week, and then I think we'll look at 2 players each, must buys and must sells. But let's go for your trades this week so far. Adam, lead the way.
Well, I have one trade that I'm pretty set on, and that's Jenkins to Billy Smith. Sort of similar to my rationale for trading Tamale to Hiroti last week. It's couple of things. I don't think Jenkins is a run home type player. You know, he's done a job, he's made some money. I think I just want to turn that spot over and keep moving my team forward. Also, the Panthers' attacking shape hasn't been very good for him. I don't think McLean and Talangi are doing him any favors from that standpoint. There's a lot of times where they're going themselves, they're making the wrong pass. You know, he could easily, come out and score 100 this week. And if that happens, great. But I think, like for me, if I hold him, avoid Billy Smith, I'd need a lot to go my way for that to be the right decision. So it frees up a bit of cash. Billy Smith will make quick money as well. So that's a pretty easy one for me. After that, I've got too many options. Haven't really nailed down a set trade. Like Gutho could go. I think JC I'll keep for another week. If Gutho was to go, it'd be to Drinkwater this week. I'll probably end up holding that trade. And then I think I just need to bolster my forwards. My pack has been light all season and it's worked out well, but at some point I probably need to strengthen it. So I've got a fair bit of cash. I could go Hubner up to like a Dylan Lucas potentially if I want to take that gamble. Couchman is the same price. I could go him very easily. I'll probably do something like that, I would say. And the rest of my team's pretty set for now. So maybe a boost, maybe just the one trade, maybe 2. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Jakey, what about you, mate?
I'm definitely only making the 2 trades this week. I have no inclination to boost. As I said earlier, went Jake Targo to Billy Smith. And the other one I've just recorded on is Corey Pakes to Blake Brayley at the moment. I definitely feel like, for me, I'm very happy to get off Pakes now. Walters has been named in that starting 9 this week, I noticed. So coming off the bench, if that's the way moving forward for the Broncos, they've had a couple of losses now. So maybe Madge is looking to change things up for the Broncos. I think I was talking them up, being very excited about them 2-3 weeks ago. And yeah, I don't know if I've somehow jinxed them or whatnot, but they've, not looking great. They've also now lost Walsh. So yeah, Broncos might lose a little bit of confidence, a little bit of attack there. So happy to get rid of Pakes. Don't know if Brayley's definitely the man I want. I think just he's usually playing 80 minutes, I believe, week in, week out. So he's always going to be he's been averaging, looks like 57. He got 83 last week. It's a good time to buy him. Another one could be Reece Robson, that I was considering too. A bit more cheap, I could save money, but obviously a huge risk with Origin coming up. So that's kind of swayed me to Brayley. A real crazy one, if I don't do that Pakes to Brayley this week, because I do feel like Billy Smith is a lock-in for me. I know we were discussing that Nicholson has obviously got 80 last week, but I feel like that could change. We don't know exactly what the Raiders will do, possibly. If you could easily get more minutes out of Horsburgh, Hosking could easily just fill in for Nicholson, for example. So I was considering Nicholson to Huddy Young. And yeah, Huddy Young's obviously been getting some huge points. He's over 800 grand. I think he's got a 35 break even or something. I think I saw he's going to go up even more at home against the Finns this week. I feel if he gets another 100 plus game, that's unreal. He's obviously a huge risk for Origin, I feel. I think he should be getting picked for the Blues personally, but he does have a lot of competition at the same time, so he could miss out. So that would be my cheeky one that I really, really like. For me, because I have that extra cash, I guess, as well, I was considering Huddy Young over Dylan Lucas this week. So, but the man I'd get rid of, I think, would have to be, it could even be Jack Goz if I really wanted to, because he's just injured on the bench and I got
Lock
the
it
money
in,
there
bruh.
too. So, but then I'm stacked, I feel, and I'll
Sorry.
be kicking myself because I need to
Hey, Jake,
bolster my centre wings eventually.
are you not worried that Goz to Hudson Young might be a bit sideways?
No, it's that Um, I'm worried if I spend too much on my money, I won't be able to upgrade my 7 wings later. So I'm just a little bit nervous about that. If I bolster up my centre wings soon, I could make that play. But yeah, that's just some of the thoughts going through my head, essentially. So I would love to get Huddy Young in my team, sorry. So, I don't know, it could be a last minute play. Whoever's up against me this week, watch out. Could be
Oh,
bringing in
Hunter.
Huddy.
Mate, I love the Hudson Young shout. If I could afford him, I probably would get him in, like, regardless of the origin debate, if he's going to get there or not. I agree with you, though, Jakey. I'm pretty sure he's a lock going for his current form. And guys like Jake Trbojevic pretty much aging out of the game, let alone origin. Yeah, I think he takes that position hands down. Yeah, mate, there's a no-brainer. I'd just go literally goes up to Hudson Young for sure. If the other second rows are still
Yeah.
making you money, yeah, do it for man, like 100%.
Yeah, it's an exciting one, I feel, for people that, because he was in my team once again before round one kicked off, and the last second I changed him to Jacob Preston, which Jacob Preston's done really well for me as well. So overall, no super complaints. But if I had to pick Jacob Preston or Huddy Young, I probably would pick Huddy Young. So yeah, I don't know. I'll see what happens. It's definitely yeah, exciting. So it'd be an exciting play, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that a lot, actually. Well, currently, boys, I've got JC out of my team again due to that 4 to 6 week. But Adam, I don't mind your shout of just holding him a week, seeing what's happening. I could go. I really want Herbie. Okay, so I've shifted up Dewey into 5'8" with Brimo, and I've got JC straight to Herbie. So that leaves me at 135k in the bank, and I'm just a bit short of getting some guys I really want. So I might be at the state of just leaving it and only having one trade. I know, rare, because I've max trade every single week, including 5 boosts in a row. But I do have some guys I'm a bit concerned about on the bench in my second row, like Thomas Cant. He's now on the bench, but again, he's probably going to make a little bit more money. Hubner, he's got a high break even now for his role in comparison. Or he's got the HIA. Dylan Egan, no guarantee of starting, but again, negative break even. I would love to get Hudson Young, but I just don't think I can do it unless I fade Herbie. But I'm kind of set on Herbie. So yeah, I think I'm going to
No,
do
I
the
like
one
Herbie
trade.
too. Yeah, I mean, to me, that makes sense. Like, holding JC is more like if you have to buy a 5'8". I think if you can get a gun like Herbie who's only going up in price, like he's bottomed out, so just that's a no-brainer. Lock that in.
Yeah. And I kind of like Sandon Smith and Mamazalis in my hooker position. Like, I'd love to get someone better. I've talked about Damien Cook since bloody round one, and he's only sort of come into a bit of form, eye test wise anyway. Again, the role share with Little's not ideal, but if he's playing more at lock or second row, whatever, and gets that higher minute role, definitely look at Damien Cook. But I think Mamazalis now with Latrell at fullback, that's probably going to help him. Obviously versus Melbourne, not ideal, but yeah, Sandon Smith, yeah, he's still a viable option currently. Any attacking stat goes his way, he managed to do something there. And I went early on Billy Smith instead of Hiroti. That was probably my biggest mistake because then I would have got rid of Shibasaki, then I would have played Marju. So again, the old butterfly effect got me really good there. But yeah, at this stage, I think I'm only going to go one trade. As you mentioned earlier, Adam, with Dylan Lucas, I am really, really nervous of the return to play. Kind of want to see like probably 2 weeks out of him. Obviously, Gary and Physio Corner on the main episode, we've been talking about Physio Corner, let alone Hamstring Corner. I definitely need to see a bit of volume in the legs before I make the plunge with Dylan Lucas for sure. So, boys, is there anyone, if there's one sell in your team, who would it be? Or just in general, if someone's got a player in the team that must sell, who would it be?
Looking at my team, for me, obviously that Jake Targo to Billy Smith. Jake Targo isn't a definite sell. He's just one bloke who's pretty cheap that's been sitting on the bench injured for me who I can easily use a loop with. But out of all my trades, I feel like Corey Pakes was probably that man for me.
Easy.
He's definitely capped out in price, been benched now. So yeah, unsure of that minutes. Billy Walters might lock down that spot now. So we can see how that goes. And with Sandon Smith as my second hooker for me personally, I needed a stronger hooker. So I've just been waiting for that opportunity to arise, and this was the week. So that's probably what's going to stop me from bringing in Hudson Young, by the way. I don't know, once again, if Blake's definitely that lock-in for me. But yeah, Corey Pakes, for me at least, is going to be my definite.
Adam, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I don't really have any must sells, but yeah, for me, it's definitely just Jenkins that I'm looking to move, only because I think Billy Smith is a good buy. And I think Jenkins, like, there's a chance Toto just comes back next week and Jenkins is out of the team anyway. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing. I don't think he's a must sell at all. JC is probably a sell, but again, like I said, I don't think it has to be this week. Probably those two. I think my team's pretty settled. Like even Hubner, he isn't going to lose any money. He's not even playing this week. You don't have to trade him. Kant has a decent B. You don't have to trade him. Egan's got the negative. Horse is doing all right. I've got a lot of guys that are just fine. So probably tells me I should save some trades, but none of us like doing that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm pretty much similar to you, Adam. The JC is either a sell or a hold. I think from my position, trying to get a better center wing in, like Herbie or Carraz, more than likely Herbie. Yeah, I'm definitely going to sell JC, and I think I'll just lean with the one trade. Crazy guys, I know. I think, guys, to finish off the episode, captaincy options. Who are we vibing? Adam, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna run it back on fullbacks again. It depends if I buy Drinkwater, I'm captaining him. I'm probably not going to, but I'm it's something that's in the back of my mind. Let's assume I'm not going to buy Drinkwater. I think I'll be pretty straightforward. VC Teddy and then C Pappy. I think Pappy, he'll probably still be kicking goals. Good matchup back at home, off a loss. As Jakey said, they'll be fired up. Bellamy would have gotten right into him. So I think it's probably important to have one of the two, VC or C on Pappy. And then, Teddy off a worse performance, but day game against the Dragons, big clash. I reckon he'll be back to his tackle busting. I think he could do pretty well too. So that's sort of what I'm looking at. Cleary, I'm a little bit more nervous about this week. But I mean, he was awesome last week. So yeah, I couldn't knock anyone for, looking at him. Yeah.
Jakey, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I could roll with the don't fix what's not broken and keep that VC on Pappy and keep that captain on Cleary, which I've currently got. Another option, VC on Haas and captain Pappy. Yeah, they're probably most likely one of those options is the way I'll be leaning this week. So yeah, feeling pretty good though with that advice on Pappy and captain on Cleary at the moment. So
I think I'm more gun ho on the St. George defense, so I'm leaning away from putting a armband on Tedesco. So in turn, I've done what you've said, Jake. I've done a VC on Pappy because I do have a loop option this week, and then I've gone the C on Cleary. I think Panthers need to get some wins. I think getting over that monkey off their back last week, getting a big win, I think that's going to be really good for them. Cleary got no real big attacking stats last week and got 116 points. So if he can get a couple of try assists, he can get a line break or a try. Again, got none of them last week, guys. That's a pretty clear indicator that Cleary might be back. But again, if Pappy goes 100 plus, I'm more than happy to take the loop for sure.
just quickly, speaking of halfbacks being back, Moses with that 98 for the Eels. Yeah, he'll be one I'll be personally watching. Yeah, I think he's sitting in that 600k mark in the unders as well, like 640 or something like that. So yeah, he came back looking pretty good. It'll be interesting to see what New South Wales do, whether they go with Luai or Moses. I reckon it's obviously between them to partner Cleary. I really like the Moses at 6 option with Cleary for the Blues. I reckon that's probably really spicy for them. But yeah, just for future reference, I know he's got the bye this week, but I'll be keeping an eye on Moses as well moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, Moses' points are a little bit inflated because pretty much Moses gave the kicking tee to Lomax. So that is a sort of a 4 week a wait and see because Lomax is around the corner. Yeah, with Origin as well. Don't know. Probably going to get the Origin nod. So I probably would be fading Moses just because it's so close to that part. But yeah, he's definitely unders if he's goal kicking, that's for sure. Boys, is there any final points, Any final takes? Adam, start with you.
No, not really. I think one thing for people to keep in mind is I know a lot of us have quite a few Roosters and they've got the bye coming up in round 10. So a lot of people buying Billy Smith this week, me included. But if you've got guys like Wong, Naf White, Sandon Smith, Connor Watson, Toya, Billy Smith, Teddy, there's a lot of relevant Roosters this year. Something that you do need to be mindful of. So personally, I'm getting Billy Smith, but I'm planning ahead to turn at least one of Billy Smith or Toya into like a Sharp or a Herbie, maybe even both of them. There's also a possibility of trading Teddy potentially. There's options, but just make sure you're not caught out with 6 Roosters in that round.
Yeah. Good shout. Good shout. Jakey?
Yeah, in terms of planning ahead, I'm starting to get a little bit conscious of, I guess, Origin players. My front row with Haas, May, Tino, and Horsburgh. Haas and Tino I feel like are shoo-ins, obviously, but May and Horsburgh, surely they're in contention
Yep.
for their representative states as well. And then even looking at my second row, starting with Carrigan, Preston, and Olakawatu. Carrigan will be there, and then Olakawatu is probably a lot more likely than Preston, I feel.
Yep.
But yeah, for me, I know you obviously get that reduced down to I think it is 13 players for those major bye rounds over Origin, but still something I guess to keep in mind.
Yep. Well said, boys. I couldn't agree with both of you more. Yeah, just the preparation, guys. Definitely need to start planning ahead. If not this week, next week for sure. Because those are buy rounds, but also those mini buy rounds get a lot of people buy a bit of surprise there. Well, guys, Fantasy File episode 2. I'm going to do my best not to override this file like I did last time. Absolute bot. So, Jake, thanks, mate. Adam, thank you, my brother. Again, guys, really important to get this show off and going. You guys do a fantastic job on the main show with Gary and I. But if you guys can like, subscribe, and comment, again, the algorithm sort of picks this stuff up. And the more that you can do that, the better it'll be for us as a show. We had Chris on last week and he was fantastic. And sorry, Chris, in advance that I deleted you from the show. But Chris is he's going to be in the next 2 weeks. I'm sure Andy will be back on, and Adam and Jake, when they're free, they're more than happy to have a yarn as well. Guys, thanks for your insight. You guys have been fantastic. Again, guys, like, comment, share it. Go on YouTube, go on Spotify, go on TikTok, wherever you see your show. But again, please do those things for me. And again, it helps me so much. But again, guys, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Jake. And see you next time.
Thank you.
And we